Hey, it's Ryan. Welcome back to the channel. Wanted to do something different today. This one probably is going to cause a lot of friction with people. I wanted to kind of voice an opinion, which is terrible to do on camera channels. I found that out. Everyone's going to argue and it's probably going to get lots of thumbs down. I hope not. I hope you enjoy it. And I just wonder, maybe it'll start a conversation. Let's go for that. I would love to hear your opinion, and I'd love to have good discussion in the comments about this. So I'm not a fanboy of any particular brand. I've tried a lot of different things. I love technology. I love coffee, iced coffee, strictly iced coffee. But I love technology. I love phones and cameras and computers and video games and all that sort of thing. And one system that I've used very little when it comes to cameras, I've used APS-C. I've even used APS-H, isn't it called? The one slightly bigger than APS-C. I've used full frame, the whole deal. And the one I've used the least is actually Micro Four Thirds. But I wanted to make a video kind of about Micro Four Thirds. I wish the manufacturers would watch this video because it's a system that's intrigued me for a long time. And again, I've used it the least, but at least in theory, I really like the Micro Four Thirds system. I like the smaller lenses. I like that you can get bigger apertures on smaller lenses. It's kind of the thing, I guess, for Micro Four Thirds. The thing I don't understand is this. If you want better low light performance, you generally have to go with full frame. Specifically, Sony's making some killer low light cameras. Nikon's got some great features in their new full frame, although, it's a young system, just like the new Panasonic full frame system, the S1s and all that. But they're full frame. They've got monster specs. They've got great codecs. They've got higher bit rates. Everything going great. Now, in Micro Four Thirds, you've got the GH line, which has the GH5. The GH4 was a great camera. I never shot on it, but I've seen stuff shot with it. I've seen the specs. The GH5S, where they improved the low light, and of course the new Pocket Cinema camera, 4K from Blackmagic. Everybody loves that camera. That is a Micro Four Thirds. Although, yes, I know the 4/3 sensor in it, closer to real 4/3, not micro. Regardless, it's a Micro Four Thirds mount. You can put Micro Four Thirds camera lenses on it. It's got dual native ISO, which I believe the GH5S has as well, which is great. Better low light performance, all this stuff. The thing I don't get, though, outside of a few great examples like the Pocket 4K, like the GH line, is, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, we can discuss this in the comments, Micro Four Thirds has one big advantage, or did have it, over all the other cameras, and that was the micro part of it. You've got smaller lenses, which is great. A lot of them are more affordable. Now I know you've got the focal equivalency ×2, SO, the aperture ×2, so a 2.8 is I know. I'm just saying, smaller, more affordable lenses, and what I thought was going to be smaller bodies. Micro Four Thirds, you can make them so small. This is the part that I don't understand. A lot of people said Micro Four Thirds is going to die. And at first I was like, no, it's not. But now I don't know, because here's the problem for me. You used to have really small Micro Four Thirds cameras, and those are the ones that interest me. If you remember the GM1, or if you've ever seen the GM1, that thing was tiny. So you've got a Micro Four Thirds sensor in a camera. The Panasonic GM1, it was smaller than Sony's point and shoot, smaller than the RX100. So the RX100 has this little 1-inch sensor, and yeah, it's great. But then you had this Panasonic GM1, which was even smaller with a larger sensor. And for me, that was kind of the apex of Micro Four Thirds. And then when they came out with the Panasonic GM5, which I did a video about, you can check that out. It was awesome. They added an EVF to this tiny little camera. So now I think the GM5 was a sliver bigger than the RX100, which is a tiny little point and shoot. And with that tiny little lens, they had the 12-32, not a super lens, but you could throw that in there and literally stick it in your shirt pocket. The thing was, I compared it to my cell phone at one point. Even the GM5, which was slightly bigger, my cell phone dwarfed this camera. And it was a mirrorless camera with a Micro Four Thirds mount. So you could throw any lens on there you wanted. If you needed to throw a vintage lens on it, which may have been a little bigger, you still had a nice tiny little camera. And for me, that was the advantage that Micro Four Thirds had. And now I don't fully understand. You've got great Micro Four Thirds cameras, and a lot of people like the Panasonic G9. I know, a lot of professionals use it. But what I don't understand is now you've got this G9, which is bigger than the Sony a7 III, and people are worried that's going to go away. And I just feel like if you're not going to put the micro part, as in small cameras, small lenses, I don't understand the advantage. The a7 III is going to be better in low light. It's got great focusing. It's a killer camera. I know the G9's a good camera, but I doubt it's better than the a7 III. And plus it has this Micro Four Thirds sensor. So I'm not understanding what the manufacturers are doing. I wish they would continue the GM line. If they came out with a follow-up to the GM1 and the GM5, like a GM10 or whatever they wanted to call it, I would pre-order that and buy that immediately. I don't like carrying around all these lenses. In fact, I hate some of these full-frame lenses. They're so big and annoying. I'd much rather put a nice small lens on my camera, and I know they can do it. I mean, have you seen the new Sigma camera that's coming out? I don't know whether it's going to be any good, but it's the smallest full-frame. It's a full-frame camera that's smaller than Sony's full-frame cameras. It's literally the smallest one they've ever made. So I just wanted to make a video asking you, what do you think the advantages of Micro Four Thirds is? If they're not better in low light and they're not better cameras, they're at least as good. Is it just the small lenses? And wouldn't it be cooler if they just made a bunch more small bodies? I certainly would scoop up a bunch of Micro Four Thirds cameras if the bodies were tiny. The GM1, the Panasonic GM5, oh, I love those cameras, and I wish they would update them and make something new. I don't want a Micro Four Thirds camera that's bigger than my full frame camera. That's just an opinion piece. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought. I wanted to share what I thought. I just want the micro back in Micro Four Thirds. Let me know in the comments what you think, and thanks for watching this opinion video. I don't do these often, but I appreciate you being here. I'll talk to you real soon. See ya.